And from the other side of the aisle, we are joined by Democratic Congressman from California and member of the House Foreign Affairs and Intelligence Committees, Bera. Congressman, thank you for being here. Appreciate your time.
Jackie, thanks for having me on.
So, Congressman, you just heard from your colleague on the Republican side. Congressman Garbarino has not signed on to either discharge petition to fund. There are three foreign aid pursuits, plus the border is included on one of them. As I understand it, you did sign on to the McGovern discharge petition that would advance the foreign aid only. But that came after you voted against the Israel bill. Speaker Johnson put up an Israel standalone bill, and your argument at the time for voting against that was that you didn't feel that you could move forward with Israel alone when you had outstanding challenges to resolve for Ukraine and for the border. So what has changed for you? I mean, why not sign on to both, I guess?
So correct. I have signed on to the bipartisan bill that passed out of the Senate with a pretty large vote, and that bill that I signed on to has both funding for Ukraine, which is the most urgent need right now, funding for Israel, and also funding for the Indo-Pacific, Taiwan. It also has humanitarian aid. The reason why I voted against the prior Israel-only bill is, right now the most pressing need is to get resources to the Ukrainian army. They're fighting valiantly. We had our worldwide threat assessment, so we heard from the intelligence community, and this is a critical juncture in that war. We also have to continue supporting Israel, and we have, and you've seen the Biden administration continue to do that through their executive means. But we've also got to make sure we get humanitarian aid to Gaza. We don't want children starving. We don't want, the elderly not having their medications. Those are not Hamas fighters. Those are innocent civilians, and we've got to support them.
Your colleague, Don Bacon, a Republican, said that the McGovern discharge petition, which is foreign aid only, does not have the border. It has only Democratic signatures, and it's dead on arrival. It's not going anywhere. You're on the Intelligence Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee. I mean, how much time does Ukraine have to wait for Republicans, I guess, to come around when there's another option, or potentially multiple other options that they're considering?
I mean, I would also, if we want to add border to that, that's great. There was a border bill that Senator Langford, a Republican, negotiated with Chris Murphy, a Democrat. I thought it was a pretty good bill. It's not everything that we need, but we do need to do something on the border. So I would take that up and vote on that as well. We have to get Ukraine the aid that it needs right now. This is a critical juncture in that war. Now's not the time to not support the Ukrainian people. They're the ones fighting this fight. You've got to get them that aid as soon as possible, and I hope it is next week. Speaker Johnson's sincere. I've got to know him a little bit, and I take him at his word. It's not easy with a narrow majority, but I think we've got to do the right thing.
And Congressman, one final question. The White House did not walk back Senator Schumer's remark calling for new elections in Israel. A lot of Republicans criticized that as an example of election interference. But, President Biden, when he said, for instance, that Putin cannot remain in power, when this was right after the Ukraine invasion, he made that remark in Poland, and the White House bent over backwards to clean that up, said, we're not calling for regime change. And we're talking about Putin there. But he didn't clean up that statement that Chuck Schumer made. Is the Senate Majority Leader and a top Democrat in the party. Does the White House need to clarify what exactly they want to happen? Because they tried to argue that they're not walking it back but not endorsing it. So what's your take?
Yeah. I think you saw John Kirby talk a little bit about Israel's a democracy. At the end of the day, it's up to the people of Israel to choose their path forward. I have my issues with how Prime Minister Netanyahu is prosecuting this war. I would not have chosen to go down and speak publicly on the House.
It looks like we lost Congressman Bera. Oh, you're back, and I'd love to get your last thought. We lost you. You froze for a second, Congressman, when you said you wouldn't have gone down to the House floor. Could you just complete that thought for me?
Yeah, that wouldn't be my style. I've voiced my concerns directly to the Israeli government and folks. I have my issues with how Prime Minister Netanyahu is prosecuting this war, but at the end of the day, it's up to the people of Israel.
Congressman Ami Bera, thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday. Really appreciate your time. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Be well.
Thanks. Griff.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.